SLBC's Good Morning Sierra Leone program, the program that starts your day from Mondays to Friday with a critical analysis of important issues. We are your presenters for this program. I am Julian Kuruma.
And I am Francis Bernard, and our quote of the day is an African proverb, and it says, "The frown on the face of a coat will not stop it from being taken to the market for sale." Coming up in this edition of the program, Sierra Leone moves from 110 in 2022 to 108 out of 180 countries surveyed in the 2023 Transparency International Corruption Perceptions Index published on 30th January 2024.
The Ministry of Technical and Higher Education, in a press release, has disclosed the court of the University of Sierra Leone.
And we shall be finding out more about the Sierra Leone Bakers Association as they hold their annual general meeting today. These stories plus more are lined up in this edition of the program. You can add your voice to it by sending your comments and views to the number on your screen, or you do follow us on our Facebook page at SLBC Channel 31 Live. The program is Good Morning Sierra Leone.
Welcome back to the Good Morning Sierra Leone program. Well, let's kickstart the program with our first intro. And don't you forget, you can join us by sending your messages to the mobile number right there on your screen, or find us on your Facebook page at SLBC Live Channel 31. For the fifth consecutive year, Sierra Leone has progressed upwards in the Transparency International Global Corruption Country Rankings, moving from 110 in 2022 to 108 out of 180 countries surveyed in 2023 Transparency International Corruption Perception Index, published on the 30th of January 2024. Sierra Leone also increased its 2022 score of 34 to 35 in 2023, which is above the sub-Saharan average, and the highest the country has ever recorded since the CPI ranking began. In 5 years, consistently, Sierra Leone has moved 22 places upwards on the CPI, from 130 in 2017 to 108 in 2023. Now, to tell us more on that and why we've been able to get this consistent progress, I have Patrick Sandi, Director of Public Education, the ACC. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Very good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
Now, what I am hoping to understand is, would you and your commission attribute this consistent progress to?
We will definitely attribute it to the kind of energy, the zeal, and the strategies we've applied or employed in the fight against corruption, particularly with the advent of Francis Benkaifala as the commissioner of the ACC. We have, from that time, 2018, started seeing the upward trajectory in the fight against corruption. The things that have gone into it are many. I may just have to state a few. If you look at even the public education campaign, I want to say that it has been quite aggressive and vigorous. We can recall that even at a point in time, the commissioner himself has led the team to go to every part of the country whereby people are told about the fight against corruption. Then you also see our presence in terms of communicating our messages. We are in several platforms because we are not fighting corruption in hiding, or we don't want people who are not in the ACC to drive the narrative. What we are doing, which is very important for the fight against corruption, is one, you take the people along, but much more importantly, is when you really inform them about what you do and then why you do it. So that has been happening over the period of time. So everybody, so to speak, or the larger majority of Sierra Leoneans now know what the ACC is doing, and then reasons for why they did it. That is just one aspect. That also does not go into the public sector engagements that we have been doing, because when we talk about Transparency International, they look at largely public sector corruption. But we are just looking at it holistically in terms of our public education, outreach campaigns, and the public relations work we do. Then we talk about our sting operations, the Scorpion Squad, because these are all things that go into the fight. Whilst yet you have to do the talking, while you have to inform the people, but you have to get content. What is it that you tell the people? And you see the Sierra Leonean populace, they are so much interested in things around investigations, in things around arrests, in things around sting operations, when you sting institutions, go for instance examination malpractices, go for other income generating institutions where people are doing things that are not good enough or improper. When the commission goes there, do the arrest, and then they are being investigated and the outcome is communicated to them. I think that's also good. Our prevention work too in MDs, our national anti-corruption strategy, which of course has led to the creation of integrity management committees in the ministry, department, and agencies. In over 95% of them, we are just crafting the 5th generation of the strategy. That also is very key. Our asset declaration regime, with the streamlining of it, and today we are talking about now people declaring this year, and the World Bank is interested in these things, and you have World Bank indexes, all of these put together, a World Bank report, country report, that feed into this particular index, and so many other sources are there. But for instance, the aspect of asset declaration, which is also another accountability tool, have been quite successful at the ACC. Now we have gone online. People are encouraged to declare their income, assets, and liabilities, and a lot of publication or publicity is done around it, and we've got a lot of cooperation from members of the public. So all of these things within the work of the ACC have been able to let us make this progress in the fight against corruption. 22 places upwards from 2018, and it has been quite systemic. And we have also moved in the score. We are 30. And now we are talking about 35, and we are now in the category of the maximum performance in sub-Saharan Africa, in the ranks of Seychelles, Cape Verde, Tanzania, and the like. So it is actually good. And then lastly, to note that we are now getting into the 2 digits. We are moving towards the 2 digits, 108, and that has also been one of the plans of the Commission, where we'll be talking about now we are in the 97 or 88 with a score of 40. These are the kinds of things that we want to see in Sierra Leone. We know corruption is around, but let us take concrete and deliberate steps to deal with it.
So, I must say, over the past years, yes indeed, ACC needs a lot of commendation, because you've been able to actually catch some miscreants who are involved in corruption and recover money, lots of money that are for public development. But over the years, I've heard my good man Sylvanus Blake come here and talk about the fact that yes, the ACC is challenged with officers themselves to be able to look at the Auditor General's report and be able to go after all of the cases in there. That's one. And another case is, from what your main commissioner said, sometimes people will want him to take his investigation a little bit step further, but he will say, I am governed by the ACC Act. I will not do something that is against this, or something besides this, or something after this, because I only listen to that. So do you think those are challenges that for the Act also, certain things to be looked at in there for reforms maybe, so that the AC's work will be a lot more commendable?
Oh, certainly yes. These challenges will emerge. But then we have to also bear in mind that the fight against corruption is dynamic. And in as much as it is, as you go along, you roll out a particular aspect of the fight, then you realize what is it that I have to bring on board so that the fight can be strengthened the more going forward. So that's just the point you are making. For instance, we amended the Act in 2019 because challenges were identified with the 2008 Act. So those challenges were the ones we tried to nip in the amendment. For instance, the aspect of exit declaration, which used to be 1 year, we now said it should be 3 months just as entrance declaration. The aspect of mandatory restitutions. So just a couple of few. But again, whilst we are implementing the 2019 Amendment Act, we realize, for instance, public concerns, like you are saying, about persons being investigated to be set aside by the ACC. And it is not in the Act for us to set aside somebody. That is like just one instance I want to say. So it is now the place of the public, for instance, to move that forward for an amendment to be done. Also, when they talk about cases being charged to court, which should be carried on by judge and jury, but in our own cases, we had always been making an application for judge alone. If that is also another challenge, then let it be in our Act, or even in the Criminal Procedures Act, as it were, to say anti-corruption cases should be exempt from being judge and jury, because we had that also as a debacle. So these are the kinds of challenges we're talking about. In the aspect of the audit report as well, you mentioned it. We talk about staff capacity, staff strength. That also had to be built so that we have more staff to deal with it. We are really thankful to Parliament and then the Audit Service Sierra Leone for the collaboration. But when it comes now into drilling down, the issues are so plenty, we identify, and you have to go through each and every one of them so that you can get an outcome, and then you do immediate release. So these are the challenges we face. They are real enough, but we see how we get around them. But nevertheless, we have been able to make successes in the fight against corruption.
So, Mr. Sandy, going through the report, this year's CPI shows a mixed result in Africa.
Certainly,
and
yes.
Also, we, however, saw Sierra Leone making progress. So how was that possible?
No, it was really possible, as I've said, with the inputs we made in the fight against corruption, as against other countries in sub-Saharan Africa. That's why we are being ranked with other countries in sub-Saharan Africa, and we are being put on a level. We have an average. The sub-Saharan average is 33.
Yes,
some people always
so
begin to look 35. Some people always look at it as if it's by percentage. You have other countries, for instance, the Scandinavia countries or other countries in Europe, which they put at the average is 61. And these are countries that are scoring better. So the fact that they look at all the other components that makes the fight against corruption in sub-Saharan Africa, they put us on an average. But other countries in sub-Saharan Africa are also not doing well. Some are doing well, like Sierra Leone, and that's the more reason why you see us going up. As I referenced, the maximum performing countries in this particular CPI is Sierra Leone is one of them, Seychelles, Tanzania. So it shows that we are progressing, and in fact there's a decline or stagnation in terms of performance with other countries in sub-Saharan Africa. So, but we are making progress.
As Julian was saying, you have been able to get this result as a result of what you've been doing in Sierra Leone. The fight, your public education, getting the public to know about corruption and things that they should not do. However, have you been able to work with institutions to advocate for the enhancement of salary or salary harmonization? Because people do involve in corrupt practices. Some say, oh, my salary is too small and the things I do is far, far, far expensive than what I receive as my salary. So have you been able to work with institutions, or you recommend to government that look, you have to enhance the salaries of institutions so that people will see the reason why they should not involve in what they are not supposed to involve?
No, just before you come in, I know you were very hasty to answer this question, but we are not saying that because your salary is low, you should go into corruption and steal the office money. That's not what we're saying. But if you are paid an amount that is recognizable to the work you do, believe me, we all have conscience, and certainly your conscience will not lead you to take public funds.
Well, you see, whilst you are still making a point that there is no justification, but you cannot destroy the nexus. There is still a nexus between you getting low salaries and then you being incentivized, so to speak, to involve in corruption. So the point is this: we have identified that it may not stand out as the role of the ACC to basically make sure salaries are increased. It is the government. And the government also will do so with increased revenue. So I think the one thing we should try to do is to plug the holes or the leakages, as they may say, so that we have enough revenue. However, no, our systems and processes review recommendations have always come along with this. But then the point you are now saying about salary harmonization, we know government has created a commission for that they are doing, is their role. But as a commission, our own work, as you said, stops at recommending. So in fact, when systems and processes reviews are done in MDAs, before and the ongoing reviews, staff or members of those institutions have always come up with this point. That was why I said they are kind of incentivized. We call it an opportunity for corruption. It is not necessarily that the person wants to be corrupt, but considering all the other factors, you get a salary you cannot buy a bag of rice out of. You have to pay your way to come to work, and you go back home. So these are all factors or opportunities that will lead to somebody to at least involve in something that is not supposed to be. So we do advocate.
Help the ACC to even score more points.
No, certainly, but we also would have to again advise. If not, we tell people to be mindful of what they do, because it is a chicken and egg situation. We have seen situations where people have all what they want. In fact, they are being taken care of by the state and all the same by government, but they still involve in acts of corruption. So what are we saying? It is not really a rationale for your involvement in corruption, but it can serve as an incentive for one to be corrupt.
All right, thank you very much. Continue to stay with us. He is Patrick Sanpi, and he is Director of Public Education Anti-Corruption Commission. In case you're just joining us, you're watching Good Morning Sierra Leone live on TV, and we are broadcasting live from Broadcasting House in New England Vale. We now go to one of our headline stories. In a letter to the Chancellor of the University of Sierra Leone, the Ministry of Technical and Higher Education has dissolved the court of the University of Sierra Leone with immediate effect following the leadership crisis at the university. The movement came in the aftermath. The Tertiary Education Commission advised the minister to dissolve the court and establish an oversight committee to manage the affairs of the university. But why was such a decision taken? Emmanuel J. Momo is the Director of Higher Education in the Ministry of Technical and Higher Education, and he is our studio guest. Good morning, Director. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, good morning, SBC. Good morning, listeners. Thanks for having me.
So, from what you've just had in our intro, just take us through this whole scenario that has led to your ministry dissolving the court of the University of Sierra Leone.
Well, the ministry resolved to dissolve the court of the University of Sierra Leone in collaboration with the Tertiary Education Commission. You know, because the Tertiary Education Commission also works with the Ministry of Technical and Higher Education. The object for which the commission was created or was established is actually to advise government on all tertiary education matters. And that's Section 7 of the Tertiary Education Commission Act of 2001. That provision, Section 7B and F, Section 7F enlarges that provision, that where there are lapses in the operations of the university, the commission shall advise government for appropriate remedies. So we have been on this thing since the appointment of the former Vice Chancellor and Principal by His Excellency to the position of Executive Director, National Health Agency. A vacuum was created. Now, the former Vice Chancellor actually went to Parliament, and that appointment was approved by Parliament. So the Act makes provision in Section 7 of the Universities Act of 2021 that where, in the absence of the Vice Chancellor and Principal, the Pro-Vice Chancellor acting instead. That provision is stated in Section 9(1) of the Universities Act of 2001. So, naturally, we were expecting that the university has a Pro-Vice Chancellor. So there was no need for the ministry even to have taken a step to appoint a vice chancellor and principal, should there be a pro-vice chancellor as stipulated as the provision.
So what was the reason given by the university?
Reason by the university? There was no pro-vice chancellor.
Okay.
We asked them the question now, do you have a pro-vice chancellor? And then we were told in court by the registrar that, well, by understanding, by agreement among themselves, they agreed that they should be rotating from this campus to this. And I was in court because I'm a member of the court. I was in court. I told them that arrangement cannot hold. When we have an express provision that in the absence of the vice chancellor and principal, the pro-vice chancellor steps in. He should be appointed by court. Was the pro-vice chancellor appointed by court? No. And then he said there was an arrangement. Okay, even let's say there was an arrangement. Where is the minute of that arrangement? There was no minute to the effect. No minute. We asked that question several. No minute. So we said, okay. Now, the minister actually, having waited for a month, 2 months, 3 months after the appointment of the former vice chancellor, she was expecting the chancellor, as provided for in section 7D, to have consultation with her. But the chancellor never did. Rather, it was the other way around. It was the minister who went to the chancellor and raised a concern. A vacuum has been created. It has taken a month. It has taken 2 months, 3 months. That vacuum needs to be filled. What's happening? And she even asked the chancellor, do you have a pro-vice chancellor? The chancellor said, no. No pro-vice chancellor. And then the minister told him, well, I want to take an action now. The ministry wants to take an action to appoint somebody who should be acting until a substantive holder of that position is appointed in accordance with section 8, subsection 1, 2, and 3 of the Universities Act of 2001. So if we had a pro-vice chancellor, there was no business, no need for the university and for the ministry to come in. There was no pro-vice chancellor. And being a responsible ministry to supervise all tertiary institutions in this country, we cannot sit by and see things going wrong without us coming in. Otherwise, we will be questioned. So that was the reason why the ministry actually came in to appoint an acting vice chancellor in the person of Professor Lawrence Kamara until a substantive holder of that position is appointed. So this thing was discussed with the chancellor. So it was discussed. The minister discussed with the
Mr. Momo, the University of Sierra Leone, their head of external affairs was here the other day, and he said they were not consulted as the university when you are taking this decision, and for them it should not be like that.
Well, I've told you that the minister actually went to the chancellor as provided by the court, by the act, that the chancellor should actually consult with the minister. Rather, it was the other way around. It was the minister who went to consult with the chancellor with regards to the vacuum that was created. And she told him that she was going to actually take steps to appoint, acting.
So where do you think...
he said, okay. So
they said, okay.
Yes, the chancellor said, okay. Yes. So we were surprised actually, the chancellor sitting in that court meeting, presiding over meeting, taking a decision that he had already agreed with the minister. We said, no, this was not, it was
So
not
where
right.
do you think this fight back is coming from? From the University of Sierra Leone?
Well, the University of Sierra Leone, actually, by every indication, that University of Sierra Leone is not a private entity. It is a government, it's a public university funded by the government of Sierra Leone. So they cannot be seen doing anything they feel like. I was in that court. I'm a member of that court. I've been in I worked in the university for 15 years before coming to the Ministry of Technical Education as director. So there is nothing about university administration I don't know. I know their act, in and out. So the ministry actually resisting the decision of the minister.
The university.
Of the minister. The university resisting the decision of the minister, having consulted with the chancellor and chairman of court. I don't think that's really, that's all.
No, Director.
This was actually a concern even that attracted the parliament. And parliament summoned us. We went to parliament. You know the responsibility, the roles and responsibilities of parliament as enshrined in section 93 of the constitution. That they have the authority to inquire into the business of the departments and agencies. That was what they rely on. They summoned us. And they advised both parties. And they made a ruling. And the ruling of Parliament is akin to that of the High Court, which nobody can be seen, to overrule.
Now,
and they overruled that. They said, no, we are not going to accept it. Even when Parliament ruled, allow this the transition period, let there be an acting Vice Chancellor until a substantive holder is appointed. They said, no, we are not going to accept it. Academics standing in Parliament, say, challenge the decision of Parliament. But yeah, come on.
Why exactly would they do that when the Parliament's dictate is akin to the law that they should actually follow through?
That's the big $1 million question that you cannot really profile answer. Because even the act, even the court cannot be bigger than the supervisor. The court cannot be bigger than Oversight Committee of Education. The court cannot be bigger than Tertiary Education Commission. That court is a creation of Parliament. The act which they rely on.
I want to ask one question.
So why is it that they want to challenge the decision of Parliament?
Let's give this a bit. Now, you said initially that it was the Chancellor's position to have actually met with the minister and discussed the way forward.
Yes.
But it was the other way
around. Yeah.
And then the meeting was had, and then an agreement for a substantive person for that position was agreed upon by the two individuals.
Yes.
Yeah. Was that meeting minuted, or was any paper thing signed to actually see and verify that this is something that both of you agreed to do?
Well, it was. That was a privileged conversation. If the minister didn't want to actually make it formal, otherwise she could have written. This is the Chancellor. Let me walk to him, even though he has failed to come and meet me. Let me go to him, and that was what she did. That's what she did.
All right, we'll certainly swivel back to you, Director of Higher Education in the Ministry of Technical and Higher Education. He is Emmanuel J. Momo. We'll certainly swing right back to him. But for now, let's take a short commercial break. We'll be back with more things to discuss.
As a mother of the house, whenever I want to prepare palm soup, there's no need pounding palm fruit. All I need is Nkulenu's Ghana's original palm soup base. My soup is done, and its preparation, it is not difficult at all. Nkulenu palm soup base, it's easily done with no difficulties. Just take few ladles and your soup is...
Welcome back. The program is Good Morning Sierra Leone, and you can have your say by sending your comments and views to the number on your screen, or you go to our Facebook page, follow the program, ask questions. We have the ACC in the studio. We also have Mr. Momo in the studio, and he's coming from the Ministry of Technical and Higher Education, and they are here to discuss about the court, the university court that has been dissolved by the Ministry of Higher and Technical Education. And now we go to another issue that you and I are always interested in, Julian.
Yes, certainly. Now, the Sierra Leone Bakers Association will hold its general meeting. The meeting will focus on the development of the association and other developmental projects undertaken by the association thus far. Now, Amadou Elba is from the Bakers Association. He's here to tell us more. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, SLBC. Thank you for having me, and good morning, viewers.
So, Mr. Bad, you have some bread outside there for us?
Of course. I'll bring you some bread this morning.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so now you are having your annual general meeting. Exactly what are the topics that are going to be discussed in there? Because quite recently, before you even go there, I know that the price of flour will be definitely something that will be discussed. Quite recently, I saw that the price fluctuated a bit. It went up and down, it's down. I don't know if it's increased again. But let's get to understand the topic, the themes that will be discussed in this meeting.
Thank you once more. Our annual general meeting will be on the 4th of February, that is this coming Sunday. And it's a meeting for the entire country. The meeting will be in Freetown at Calbaton Venue 5. And it will start at 12. And the main purpose of the meeting is to see how we can harmonize the baking industry. And some of the issues that are going to be discussed are financial reports, constitutional issues, and to see how we can improve the baking industry in the country beyond the position it is as of now. We all know the world is now moving in a different trend, and we want to modernize the baking industry as an association, and we cut across the entire country. And so our annual general meeting, that is our AGM, which we usually do once a year, is going to be on the 4th of February. And I want to take this opportunity to tell our membership that the meeting is on the 4th, and we are looking forward to them to attend fully as members of the association.
So are we going to get members coming from other parts of the country, or you're just focusing on those in the western area?
Well, the meeting will be in Freetown, and we have membership in all the districts in Freetown.
So will they be represented?
And they are going to be fully represented. Each district is going to be represented fully. And I heard you talking about flour, the fluctuation of flour. For me to let the cat out of the bag, effective today, 1st February, the price of flour, that is the most important flour that we are using at bakers, that is the AGB flour, that is coming from Guinea-Conakry, from the Sunuko company, and it is being sold by PC and Sons, has been reduced today.
Wow.
The wholesale price was 780, and it has been reduced to 730,000 as wholesale price per bag.
Well, that's good.
And the uniform price for the retailer is 750 per bag. You as retailer, you want to buy it one per bag, you have to buy it at 750.
Okay.
And we go after whosoever sells it above 750 per bag. And again, the same people, the Sunuko company and PC and Sons have just aligned that. And they will be doing a promotion effective today again. When you buy 50 bags, they give you a bag of flour free.
Ah, really?
For any 50 bag of flour you buy, that is as wholesaler, you go to buy them at the wholesale price, we give you a bag of flour free. So the more flour you buy, the more flour you get.
So, Mr. Barr, are we going to see the size of bread increase? Because the one we have now, yes, because they said there was an increase in the bag of flour in the cost, and so the size of bread was reduced.
I know that question will come up because all of us care for we do care for the consumers as well. Of course, in as much as we are going to do our AGM on the 4th, we make sure that we thoroughly discuss about the size of bread, and hopefully it's going to be improved more than it is as of now. Of course, the size of bread will improve more than it is now, okay. And we are going to have standard bread. Of course, and we are working with Sunuko and PC and Sons. We are doing training with Sunuko company at the Bread Academy at Wellington. They are doing training for people to modernize, try to teach people about baking and confectionery, the modern day baking. And we are represented. The association is always represented, the government is represented, the association is represented. And so we are looking